Hello and welcome to the Devon Man Shed and another tank build. Now this again is a Tamiya kit, and also again it's a very old kit. Now I've had my eye on it for some time, and I've recently been invited to do a plastic build off, and the criteria was to choose a starter kit. Now I was dreading this because I find starter kits, the ones with the paints and the brushes, they tend to be kits that have been around quite some time, very old tooling, and they don't go together very well at all. Anyway, I made a few more inquiries, and basically I was told I could choose sort of any sort of kit, as long as it's a cheap one and it was a simple kit to put together. Now tanks tend to be very simple kits actually. You don't need a great deal of skill to put one of these together, and because they're one colour as well, you can probably get away with using a rattle can if you wanted to, rather than airbrush. So anyway, I've taken up the challenge, so this is what I'll be using. Now my usual format will be showing you the instructions regarding the sub-assemblies. I shall show you what I actually assembled, whether I had any trouble with any of the parts, and then I shall show you that sub-assembly all finished, possibly painted. And then I shall probably follow that through with some spraying clips as well. I will do some weathering on this video. It's something I haven't done a great deal of, to be honest, and I tend to look forward to weathering tanks. I'm not a great lover of weathering planes. All my planes all look a bit clinical actually, as if they've just come out of the hangar for the maiden flight. And I've tried weathering planes in the past and they've been okay, but I just haven't had the satisfaction out of it. But when it comes to satisfaction from weathering tanks, I really enjoy it. So what I'm going to do now is set my camera up, and we'll take a gander at what's in the box, and then we'll progress from there. So I'll see you in a minute. Right, let's get going. So we've got a M41 Walker Bulldog tank in 1/35 scale by Tamiya. Now I've yet to actually take a look inside this box. Right, looks like it's usual fare. Normally these lower holes are normally left loose in the box, but this one's in a bag. But yeah, I'm just seeing if there's any battery terminals or anything in it. It doesn't look like there's any battery terminals in there, so maybe they didn't have a motor and battery set up for this. A lot of the 1970s Tamiya tanks, you could motorize them, and they molded in sort of battery terminal directions, but there's nothing on that. Right, so that's that. That's you got this. I mean, you know, this is what is it, 50 years old? The detail on it, the tooling has lasted really well. And this is one of the reasons why a tank is pretty simple to put together, because a lot of the detailing is all molded in already. But yeah, it's very good. We've got the turret. Oh, it looks pretty good. Can't see any flash. Right, so we've got 3 figures by the looks of it. I might introduce the figures, I don't know yet. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot on that sprue, to be honest. This is the detail for the turret by the looks of it. And we've got the set of wheels. Let's open this up to get the decals out. The wheels tend to be the longest part of the build, to be honest. Take them out. Yeah, very good, can't knock that. Yeah, this is all the added little tiny bits of detail that got to go on the upper hull, lights, handrails, the actual hatches. All looks pretty good. This is where they tend to get let down with the actual barrels. Sometimes they can be twisted, but that looks pretty good. That I've had them where I've had to warm them up to sort of straighten them out. Oh, you obviously get a nasty seam down it, but you can tidy that up. Yeah. I do believe I've got two variants here. Yeah, American and Japanese by the looks of it. I should probably go down the American route. I think a Japanese decals will make it look a bit odd. But there you go. Seem alright. We get a technical tip here. This is for beginners. Always a nice touch. And here we have the instructions. Do we have two? Yes, we do have two. That's obviously Japanese. What I should probably do with this, I mean, this is pretty simple, but there ain't a lot to this. Three pages of assembly, really. So, you know, it's a pretty simple kit. Not a lot to it at all. What I should probably do is highlight the parts with a highlighter, and also the anything else regarding maybe the paint codes. If I don't highlight these parts, it's very easy to overlook them. So once they've been glued, I'll then put a pen stroke through them, and that way I can you know, look at the page and make sure that I've actually assembled all the parts, because there's nothing worse than overlooking something. But yeah, there's three figures, and I'll definitely have a figure in the tank. Whether the other two I should put on the diorama, I don't know. And there's a decal sheet in a way. Yeah. Yeah, so there we go. Nice bit of history about it though. That's quite interesting sometimes to read that. Read up on your subject matter. And lovely old Tamiya tracks. God, I have trouble gluing these together yet. I seen a guy the other day, he was actually using a screwdriver. He heated up his screwdriver and he actually joined them by melting the backs of the tracks. So I might have a go at that. It's an odd rubber. Super glue don't really take. Yeah, so I might heat up a screwdriver and melt those points, location points there. Give that a go. Try something different. Well, there we go, folks. I shall look into what sort of paint colour I need. I've got a pretty good selection of paints here, but I'm geared up for aircraft. But sometimes I can cross-reference these colours. Sometimes I've got the correct colour. Sometimes I'm a little bit out, but when you weather it, it doesn't really matter. So there we go. Right. Well, in the next clip, I'll be explaining the first stage of the build, and then I'll show you that sub-assembly. So I'll see you then. Right, so here we go. Now, as I mentioned in the previous clip, I've actually gone ahead and highlighted all the part numbers in orange, and the green highlighting is for the actual colours. Now this is calling up for an olive drab. I've got several olive drabs in my paint stock. I don't know which one I'm actually going to use yet. I'll have a look. But paint wise I should be alright, because most of this is just basically matte black. There's a bit of gloss red regarding the lights and things, and a gunmetal for the gun on the turret here. So there's not a great deal of colours needed. Obviously the figures, they're going to need painting as well, so they're a bit more involved, but again I've got the colours sorted on that. So I've obviously started this sub-assembly, so I should be talking in the past tense here. Now what I've done, I've gone up to here, so basically I've done the lower hull and I've incorporated the bulkhead here that needed to be glued in. There's a couple of details here for the idler wheels to be glued to. Basically that there was pretty straightforward. I didn't have any trouble with that at all. Here we come to the wheels and the small details on the lower hull. It's explaining here how you go about joining them. These are poly caps, and there's two different sizes. The smaller one goes with the drive sprocket, and the majority of them go on to the main wheels. Obviously quite a few wheels there to glue, and I tend to use my Revel glue for that. It takes a little bit more time to go off, but that's my preferred glue when I glue the wheels. The small bits of detail that I've put on here, there's some towing eyes, towing hooks, and there's what I assume is a jack, and all that has been glued using Tamiya extra thin cement. This is really good, this. So I haven't used any super glue on this, because super glue is alright. I tend to use it in my cockpits and my planes, but I do find super glue is a bit brittle, and it doesn't actually fuse the plastic like the proper cement does. So that was all pretty straightforward there with the assembly of the wheels. I've actually pushed them onto the axles, and obviously being poly caps, I can pull the wheels off again. I intend to leave them loose for two reasons. I think it's easier to get the tracks to locate over them, and secondly I need to take them off to paint them properly, especially on the inside of the wheels. So yeah, all in all the parts were okay. I assembled this using a magnifying lamp, and of course it can flag up sort of issues with the moldings, but you know, it's a very old kit, and the close-ups of these towing hooks, the detail's not as sharp as it should be, but it's of its age. And to be honest, you know, this is only flagging up due to being under a magnifying lamp. You wouldn't know once you've glued it to the hull and look at it from a distance. And also the other thing is, I haven't cleaned up the wheels regarding the little plastic nibs that get left behind when you come off the sprues, because I find these little bits of plastic that I leave on, they actually pick up the weathering, and they give the impression of you know, a lump of mud or something attached to the wheel. So if you've got flash on something that you're going to weather, sometimes it's to your advantage actually. So that's where we are, folks. Now I've gone ahead and primed all this, so this is where we are with it. Obviously I haven't bothered spraying the inside. I'm under the assumption that because this has got poly caps on the wheels, that maybe this did originally have an option of an electric motor. I don't know. Like I say, I still haven't come across any battery terminal details. Oh yes, I have. Well, as we talk, look, I never noticed that. There's a plus and a minus there, look, for the battery directions. Well, I never. So that's probably what this bulkhead's for. It separates the batteries from the motor, I guess. Well, there you go. Anyway, yeah, I've sprayed this with a primer. I prime all my plastic kits. I'm a big firm believer in primer. I can tell a difference by the way the paint goes on, you know, using a primer. And yeah, that's basically where we are with it. So it's gone together quite nicely. It hasn't taken a great deal of time. This is probably an evening's work, you see here. And I've obviously left it overnight to make sure that the glue dries properly. So the next stage now is I'm going to assemble this turret, which is probably going to need some fettling because of the seam mark. I should probably glue that, and I should go on to the turret regarding the detailing of it, and I shall probably come back with you with that finished and primed. I intend to sort of spray the whole thing when it's assembled. I don't want to go painting the top coat yet, so that's the reason why. And it looks like I've got a gun here I need to assemble as well. So that's my next stage. So what you'll probably see now is some clips of me priming the lower hull here and the wheels, and then I'll be back to show you what I've done here with the turret. So I'll see you then. Right, I've progressed with this gun barrel. I was dreading putting this together because you get so much lateral movement with these. You can end up gluing them where they get a high spot and a low spot, and you have to remove quite a lot of material. Now I managed to put some crocodile clips on each end and one in the middle, and thankfully when I took them off once it was dry, there was very little overlap on the seam, so I was well chuffed with that. So that meant there wasn't a great deal of fettling to do. I just ran a sharp knife down that seam to remove any sort of glue that had oozed out from the seam, and I've managed also while doing that to remove the seam marks both sides. So what I thought was going to be a bit of a daunting task, it ended up being quite a nice little sub-assembly to make. Now this here went together okay. This was pretty straightforward, and the actual barrel went in there no trouble. And then we come to the main turret here. All these parts, they all had locations, so they were able to sort of self-support themselves apart from the handrails, and I've had to use super glue on those. What seems to be holes in the actual surface here is actually only like mode marks to give an indication of where they're supposed to sit. and I ended up having to use my super glue and the accelerator on it, and actually they went on okay. Once I'd attached them to the side of the turret here, the glue was sort of supporting them, and so they weren't actually dropping. So as soon as I hit the accelerator on the glue, they set off immediately. So those there can be a fiddly old bloody part of the tank build, but nonetheless it was alright actually. I didn't have any trouble with it. What else was there? I had this tool in here that had to be glued on. The barrel assembly here had to be joined. This joint was okay. I didn't have any trouble with it. There's a little tiny gap down here, but I don't think it's going to be seen, so I ain't going to bother wasting filler on it. But other than that, I mean, the fit was really lovely. And then there's a few more parts here need to go on. These are the jerry cans. There's the back of the actual turret needs to be closed off, and again the handles this side. Now at this point in time I'm going to leave the gun. I'm going to do the gun, the figures and the track as a separate sub-assembly, so all that will be done in one clip. I'm worried that this is going to get broken. So yeah, it's been quite successful. So here it is, what we've got. Here we go. I was a bit dubious about these aerials. I was worried that they're going to get broken, and no doubt one is bound to break. You always get, if you've got two aerials, one always breaks. But other than that, yeah, I'm well chuffed with the way this has come out. I've thrown caution to the wind when I spray my tanks with a primer, because I'm not bothered about runs, because runs actually help the weathering process. The powders pick up on the runs, and they give a nice natural sort of a look to them. So I don't take that much care when I spray these. Yeah, so that's it. The next stage now we've got both bits there. The next stage now is the upper hull, and there ain't a lot to this, but I shall keep it as a separate sub-assembly. So I'm going to go off and add all these bits of detail, and again give it a coat of primer, and I'll come back and well, we'll see it all put together. So I'll see you then. Right, so I'm at the stage now where everything has been primed. So I added all the detail to this upper part. Now up to now this kit's been quite good actually. I haven't had any sort of breakages or anything until now. Unfortunately, these protective frames that go around the front lights, they were covered in flash. Now I said to you that I'm not bothered about some little bits of flash, but these were quite bad. I decided to leave them on the sprue while I deflashed them, and unfortunately they were that thin that they both broke. So they're not actually on the finished article, unfortunately. Other than that, the rest of it's okay. There was this part here that acts as a barrel rest, and I wasn't all that keen about putting it on actually. It's where the actual barrel rests in there, and I suppose it's a support. But I can see that being broken off, so I've left that off. The gun sub-assembly went together okay. This had very bad flash, top and bottom, along the seam, mode seams again, and I just got my scalpel and just ran me sharp blade along them, and it's right as rain now. The fit was okay. At the moment this is loose. I have the option of gluing it, but I'll decide that when it's fitted to the turret. So we come to the figures. Now the three figures I've actually made, and they they went together okay, but again, awful seam marks again where the mode seam is, and again I just rubbed my knife over it, but other than that these went together okay. I managed to get the arms lined up where they're supposed to have done, so that they represent they're holding their guns. That's all guesswork really, to be honest, trying to glue two arms and the gun at the same time. It's impossible that. So yeah, that's all been done, and I've actually primed the tracks as well. I haven't yet joined them. They're saying here, but it's heated screwdriver blade. Now I wonder why this wasn't flagged up in my other builds, because this is something that I saw somebody do on YouTube, and I thought what a good idea, but I can understand why this wasn't on the other instructions of the other tanks I've done. Anyway, that'll probably be done before maybe the top coat's been put on that, because these I tend to spray brown and then I dump a load of powders on them. So everything is in its primed state. So we've got the tracks here. The three figures. We've got the gun, and obviously we've got the turret here. Now what I've done here is I've actually joined the upper and lower hull together just to see how it went together, and I haven't seen this idea on the other tanks, but there's a little sprung clip here which is part of that bulkhead, and that allows you to take this on and off to gain access to the batteries, to that motorized set you could buy for it. So my concern really was the front and rear fit, and I'm quite happy with the fit of that. I don't have any issues with that, and the back is even better actually. That's a nice fit, that. Now obviously you're going to get gaps along here because of the nature of the way it's been designed. I'm not bothered about the gaps running up and through there. I ain't going to bother about it. So I'm just going to glue the front and rear edges so that it is secure, and yeah, we're then ready to give it a coat of olive paint. I've got to go through me rack here to find out which one I want to use, but yeah, that should be all sprayed next time you see it in the olive color, and the turret will be put in place, and it will be a case then of doing some detailing. So I'm going to go off and do that now, and in the meantime here's a few clips of me spraying the figures, the track, and this hull. So I'll see you in the next clip. Right, so this is where we are with it. Now, in the previous clip you saw me applying the upper coat, so all the airbrushing has now been done. I've left this for a couple of days to proper harden off, and then it was a case of doing some detailing with a hairy stick. And I've first of all I've done the exhaust covers here. This is actually a cover. The actual exhaust silencers are underneath this, and my go-to shade for exhaust systems is this Vallejo copper. I find that once this is weathered, it gives it a nice sort of heat rust look, and it looks really nice. So at the moment it's looking all a bit shiny and clinical, but I can assure you that once it's weathered, it'll be okay. Now I've gone ahead and painted the perimeter of the wheels with a matte black to represent tires. The other things I've done is the toolings here in the way of the shovels. I've painted the handles, and I've painted the actual shovel itself. The gun has been done with a gunmetal. And what else have I done? Oh yeah, I've done this sledgehammer here. Again, I've used a Humbrol leather, which is a 62. That's what I use for me handles, for me tools. I find it looks all right actually. Yeah, and I've done some detailing on the back here. Not a great deal. Added some silver to some of the parts. So yeah, that didn't take very long. What I had to do then is apply the decals. There wasn't very many of them, and those went on okay. I didn't have any problems with those. I didn't have any breakages or anything. So all in all, up to now, it's been quite a good little build this. And I think once I've applied a wash and some powders to this, it will bring it alive. It's all looking a bit clinical at the moment, and looks like it's just left the factory, but once I start weathering it, it should sort of bring it alive. Now the tracks, I haven't done a great deal with these. I've primed them and I've given them like a reddy brown colour. These will be dusted with some powders before I actually join them and attach it to the tank, so these will be done separate. Now the figures I've yet to get around to paint yet. I should probably introduce those right at the end of the build. So I haven't forgot about the figures. So what I should probably do now is show you clips of me actually weathering that tank, and what I use I have here in front of me. Now I have a video on my channel regarding how I go about making my own powders. I'm not going to go into too much detail at the moment. If you want to take a look at that video, this is basically artist pastels that I've crushed up, and as you can see, I've got quite a few to choose from. I've got a lot of earth colours here. Now I normally use sort of browns and greys when I go weathering my tanks, so I've got plenty of different shades there that I can use, but normally I don't really make too much of a fuss with me weathering. As you'll see in a minute, I just chuck it on, and the idea really is to not put too much on so that it looks like it's over weathered. So I just gently brush it on, and then I leave it. I walk away from it. I come back 10 minutes later and I look at it, and I make my mind up whether I need to add any more weathering to it. Otherwise, if you spend too long with it, you can sort of over weather it really. So that's my plan of action. So I'll see you in the next clip for that. Right, there she is, folks, and I've put her on a diorama. This is my generic diorama. I call it generic because it's something I've made to add to the presentation. As much as I'd like to build a diorama for each of my models, I don't have the room for it, so I use this sort of for presentation purposes. So you've probably seen this diorama before with maybe 2, maybe 3 different tanks on it in the past. I find it helps it brings it alive, especially when you've weathered a tank. Just sticking it on a turntable don't really do it justice. So that's the story behind the diorama. The figures I've done, I've painted those, and I've also given them a brown wash as well. And other than that, that's all I've done. Lovely kit. I really can't fault it for the money. For somebody who wants to practice weathering, it's a really nice cheap kit to purchase, put together, and you know, have a go at weathering. It's not a black art. You just got to make sure that you use the right shade powders, and you're going to make sure you don't put them on too thick. I do actually put the powders on a lot heavier down here, and as I go above the hull here, I'll put less and less on, so there's a bit of a gradient. Yeah, so it's ideal for somebody to practice. I haven't sealed this. What I tend to do with my weathering projects, I leave them down here in the shed, and overnight the temperature drops and the moisture in the air actually soaks into the powders and seals the powders. I've tried a matte varnish, and if I'd apply that to what you see now, it would go a slightly darker colour and lose that natural look. There is 2 other ways of sealing it. You can use a hairspray, or you can get hold of a pump that can pump a mist of water. That's another option you can use. Obviously you don't want to dump too much water on, so using a trigger action sort of thing like I've got here isn't a good idea. It's got to be like a pump. Anyway, like I say, I'm going to leave, well, it's been left overnight, well, 2 nights now, and I can handle that. And there's a little tiny bit of powder coming off my hand, but not as much as it was a couple of days ago. Yeah, I mean, you know, you can't knock it really, can you? I've really enjoyed building that. It seems to me the cheaper the tanks I buy off Tamiya, the better the experience is. And yeah, so all in all, that's it finished. So I'm going to present this to MLM Models as my plastic kit build. I appreciate what they were probably looking for is someone to build a plastic kit, paint it, and then not go any further. Obviously I've gone on ahead with this, with the weathering, and sticking it on a diorama as well. So I've sort of gone ahead really, sort of progressed a bit further than somebody else would have just buying the kit. But it needs to be done. You got to weather these tanks because they don't look right else. Right, so that's it then. So my next project I must crack on with. I've still got an outstanding project that's giving me problems. I'm hoping to address that today and get some photos of that finished. So in the meantime, thanks for watching, and all stay safe out there, and I'll see you soon. Bye.